Hey everybody, it's Joe Baker here with the Edit Bay. If you own an A7S, a GH4, or a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, you've no doubt heard about the Nebula 4000 Lite from Film Power. Check out some of my experiences with that unit. There are some really good tutorials and product reviews on this unit on YouTube, so I didn't see much of a point in making a similar video, so I thought I would just kind of share how this unit has worked for me, how it's changed my workflow, and so on. Before I bought it, I had no experience with handheld stabilizers of any kind. I've never owned a glide cam, I've never worked with anything like that at all. So for me, the big selling point of this unit is how easy it is to use. It is relatively new technology, or at least the technology being applied to camera stabilization is relatively new. But a lot of these shots just require little to no effort. I mean, you can pick this thing up and get some beautifully smooth footage in it. Once the camera's been mounted and properly balanced, orbiting around your subject, tracking your subject is all just stupid simple. I mean, if you take a look at the horizon right there, I mean, it's hardly moving at all. So we're able to get some really stable footage. I'm actually walking next to her in this one. One thing I will say is there's a lot of technique involved in this. And even though I was able to pick this thing up and get some really good footage right out of the box, I noticed over the course of a couple of days, when I got a little bit of practice under my belt, I was able to get much better results. If you're new to the channel, I teach video production. I actually work with elementary school age kids, and I teach them the ins and outs of filmmaking. And one of the videos that my students recently created, they are going to be submitting to our student film festival, called for a lot of running shots through the woods. And I took that as a great opportunity to get some practice with the Nebula. So when you look through some of this footage, at least at the point when I shot this footage, I had maybe 2 hours of practice under my belt. I had messed around with it a little bit at home, and that's pretty much it. And as you can see, I'm able to run behind her. We're able to get these nice panning shots, these nice booming shots, almost like crane shots that just required not a ton of effort. I am doing some acrobatic stuff with my body at that point to get those crane shots, but for the most part, it's really easy to do. If you've searched YouTube for tutorials on this unit, one thing that you'll find out right away is you can recalibrate the unit by using some free software that you can get. And I have not even attempted that yet. It does look like a pretty tedious process. There really is no good literature out there on how to use that software. Pretty difficult to understand. And from what I understand, the results as far as improving the movement and improving the fluidity of the motors on this unit just doesn't sound like it's worth the effort, to be quite honest, with that additional software. So what I've done is I've had the unit for about 2 months now. I have basically just been using it, mounting the camera on it, balancing the unit, taking it out, and having a great time with it. And that works fine for me. That has not, I still don't see much of a desire to plug it into that software. It sounds like, from what I can gather, is the software allows you to recalibrate it and store presets within the unit. If you own this rig but you have multiple cameras, say you have an A7S, a GH4, and a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, and you want to store some presets for each one of those cameras, then I can see going through the software and making those tweaks and really fine-tuning it. But if it comes to you buy this unit, you play with it a little bit, you're getting some decent results, and you want your results to be just a little bit better, based on my experience, I would simply recommend practicing. Rather than hooking it up to the software and trying to tweak things, I would just get out there and practice your technique. You'll have to bend your knees, keep your back straight, and kind of really step with a soft foot. You're going to look like a total ass clown, but really your technique is where it's at. If you can master moving your body fluidly, the Nebula will take care of the rest. It'll take care of those, high frequency jitters and take all of that out of your shot so that you can get some beautiful fluid movements. So here's been my experience with mounting and balancing the camera. You balance it by hand. And there's two things you're going to need. You're going to need the Allen wrench that comes with the unit, but you're also going to need a flat surface, and that's where things get tricky. If you're out in the field and you want to switch lenses and you need to balance the camera on the unit, you do need a flat surface. It's not like you can pinch the handle between your knees and expect to get decent results. That's just not going to happen. So you're going to need a table. You're going to need something flat to set the unit on in order to balance the camera. Another key point that I think is worth bringing up is I did not buy this unit directly from Film Power, which is based out of China. What I did is I bought it from a retailer here in the States called Camera Motion, and I want to say they're out of South Dakota. I could be wrong. But what that retailer did is they addressed an issue that, at least I'm assuming it was the retailer, they addressed an issue that came up with regard to the hardware that ships with the unit. A lot of the reviewers, when this unit first came out, were finding that the Allen wrench was a little bit too long to adjust certain things with the GH4 specifically. Meaning once you had the GH4 mounted on the unit, the body of the GH4 would actually block some of these bolts that you needed to adjust with the Allen wrench. And so what was happening when people were balancing the GH4 is they were recommending balancing the yaw, taking the camera off of the rig to adjust the tilt, and it was just a mess. So this retailer actually included a Allen wrench that's far more practical for that use. It's much shorter on the end that actually screws the bolts, so that you can go in there and tighten things without taking the body of the camera off of the unit, which is really helpful. The most practical thing for me to do was to balance the unit someplace that's controlled with a table and then take the unit out. So in the case of this, I was on a cruise, and so what we would do is balance the unit in the stateroom or on a table at a restaurant and then wander around the ship or wherever we happen to be going. This is over here in the Cayman Islands, this next shot. And I was on a picnic bench, balancing the unit, came out, and I was able to get this panning shot, which by the way is extremely smooth. Panning shots are really easy to get, by the way. It's not going to replace a tripod by any means, but the results are extremely similar to panning your tripod. Anyway, that's been my experience with the Nebula 4000 Lite from Film Power. If you have any questions or comments, please post them in the box below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.